marching down the streets with their papers because this is the move. So I think, yeah.
I don't feel like that. There's a lot of DC
yeah, I'm sure. If you want to take that as a win,
why can't I
that's wonderful for you. But this is not America. This is not America anymore. For you to feel, just to feel, because we talk a lot about feelings. It doesn't have to actually be the fact, but for you to feel safe. It's ridiculous. It's an enormous sacrifice for your feelings.
Why would you walk down the street in D.C. with if you're black with your people?
People do it every day. Cool.
Why would you have to walk down the street if you're black?
The only people that are scared of D.C. is you.
I'm not.
Period.
Why would you have to worry if you're black when you gotta have people? Okay, let's have Hood and Quinn go back and forth. Cool, if you could just hold out for a moment. So Quinn brought up the point about the economic consequences in terms of the small businesses being impacted. Do you have any thoughts? Who cares? They're making money, the small businesses.
I'm asking.
Hold on, just take a 3-minute timeout, all right? Just take a 3-minute timeout. Mute for 3 minutes, thanks.
I think to get the real authentic pink, you would have to.
I definitely, sort of the streets aren't as busy. I think that it is having an impact.
And that's a good thing, yeah, that's a
wonderful. God, the impulse control in this room is.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's good. Let her just speak. Uninterrupted.
Yeah, so as a 25-year Black American DC resident and homeowner, I think it is having an impact, to the local businesses. But at the same time, I think that there's probably going to be an opportunity for tourism to return, especially if they feel safer in coming to DC. And according to the numbers, listen, I'm just reporting the numbers that DC is safer. So I think that while this may be a short-term dip, with tourism, I think that it will rebound and rebound bigger and better. That's my thoughts on it.
So
real buyers are out there buying stuff.
Okay.
We're buying stuff.
Okay, all right, so
Cool, you got 2 minutes left. Cool, you got 2 minutes left on your view.
Who are you talking to? I'm sorry.
So here's what I'm going to say real quick. So I don't know how we got to these stats so fast. That's number one. Number two, this concept about DC not being safe in the first place that was kind of laughable. I know lots of other DC residents, and they never felt this way. And I've seen the stats before. This whole National Guard thing, and it was already low. So this is kind of weird. I don't know why this was ever a talking point, and why do we even need to argue this? It's just wrong. It's all fucking fake information.
So you're saying that let's just say let's say this, they could probably fudge numbers robberies, burglaries. I don't think that you can really fudge murder results. If somebody got arrested. So I don't know.
But what you're ignoring is that what people are reacting to is being occupied. So all the time, you remember when motherfuckers was going, popping their heads off about the lockdowns, and what if the National Guard was deployed to make sure that people complied with the lockdowns? This is not an emergency situation. People's freedoms, their sense of freedom, you talk about their sense of safety, their sense of freedom millions of dollars. Nobody's afraid, like, except for motherfuckers who only know Chicago from watching it on fucking Fox News.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you can feel scared. Like, it's a lot of scared, cowardly motherfuckers walking around here. I've never been scared even to walk through project buildings. I have done so in my life in this city. Okay? Like, give me a fucking break. And let's not ignore the fact that if you want to feel safe walking down the street, cool. How about walking down your college hallways? How about walking through your churches and your synagogues or a fucking Target? Right? I would love for our kids to feel safe and not have to get bulletproof backpacks and have live shooter drills. But as a nation, we've said that is okay and we're here for it.
Yeah.
So let's be
I mean, so I think we do have to be careful here in terms of like sanitizing DC too much. Like, it did make really good progress in 2024, but it's still ranked 4th per capita for murders and 7th for violence crime overall in the U.S. So there's a lot of room for improvement. We can make all the comments we make, but without sanitizing DC, it's getting to be a bit much.
Excuse me, sir. We're going to look at the data. I know you heard me talking, sir. If we look at the data and we look at an average from 2022 to 2024, we definitely see the uptick of the improvement. Would you not say that as well?
I said that. I said we can talk about the improvements, and there was an improvement in 2024. Absolutely. It's going in the right direction, 100%.
So it is going in the right direction. So when you say sanitize it, like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I can say that.
Of working it. It doesn't happen overnight.
So when I say like it seems like we're sanitizing it, it's like when people are saying like DC safe and all this and that. If you're number 4 out of every city in America for murder per capita and number 7 overall for violence crime, that don't count as safe.
CEO.
It just doesn't.
CEO. As a nation, we know what our problems stem from gun violence.
Yes, I agree.
And as a nation, we have said through in the public square that we are okay with that.
I hear that argument.
Excuse me. Don't look at cities in the face talking about gun crimes when people have walked through preschools and blown fucking white toddlers away, and white folks did nothing.
What's wrong with that?
Like, who needs to shut the fuck up? Because we see how y'all react to crime in your neighborhoods and your communities. You do nothing because you would rather have your guns, and so be it.
There comes a point when there's illegal gun ownership. That's
all the mass shootings were by legal gun owners.
Let me just say this real quick. If I can just say something real fast.
Every day,
Bro, you
murder in little cities in town. And how
Yeah, let me just say one quick thing. As a 25-year
Oh, God, I'm calling the police because you keep talking.
DC resident, let me just say this. I haven't spoken much, but I would say that
Operator, can you send
since I purchased my property 25
I don't
years
care. You said that before. Every speech is
moderators, could you guys like check your people?
Every speech you make is my house 25 years. So you have anything else to bring to the table?
Let him get his point out.
Jesus Christ.
When's it going to be my turn?
You'll be next. You're right after.
Oh, I go after truck drivers. How do I
I would
follow
say
Go after
a
her.
truck?
You're after
Oh, he's a clown. How do I follow a clown? All right, go ahead, Hood. Hurry up, you little bitch.
This is weird. But anyway, what I would say is that sort of the big issue and the big concern that I had, with DC and sort of everything that's a function of it is the racial wealth gap, in DC. And, certainly, since I bought my property, quite honestly, I didn't really know much about the neighborhood.
Let's talk about your
that I bought
property
in.
again.
Oh my God. I think you need to shut the fuck up and let me finish. Like, you're not funny, you're not clever, you're not cute. You're just really annoying. And I think that you're preventing people.
All right, so Point's not on stage right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the big issue is really the racial wealth gap in DC. And as much as crime, since I lived in DC 25 years ago, and it was even worse before I moved to DC, that the reduction in crime in DC, it's not a function of sort of like the Washingtonians, the Bonians, that they, the education improved or their wealth position improved or any of those things to sort of eradicate, a lot of the violence and crime in DC, but it's because they were literally gentrified out. And, I come from a pretty neutral political position because I just personally think that, like, the white liberal establishment is as evil, if not more so evil, than, like, the white conservative establishment. And, I'm just a firm believer in the core of who I am. I think that white liberals, across this nation have been ethnically cleansing the Black American population across all of our inner cities, which is why they're so pressed and will do anything to replace that population with illegal immigrants. So, let me finish, I'll land. So, listen, like, when we see, people bragging about, DC is, the crime is improving, and that's only because wealthy white liberals are forcing and gentrifying Black people out of, like, their neighborhoods. And so that's it.
So, when you said white liberals are ethnically genociding Black people, that's a really big allegation. So can you give your evidence of?
Yeah, I think that when you look at our voting patterns, it's like, Black Americans, we're overwhelmingly, support the Democratic Party, which is sort of the engine under it are, white liberal and white liberal ideologies and oligarchs. And I think that we've put them in control of our politics. And I just fundamentally, this is just me, like Malcolm X said, really the only difference between, like, a white liberal and a white conservative is that they both want power. But what the white liberals done is that they've been very effective in posing as, like, the Black American's friend and benefactor. But sort of the core of who both white liberals and white conservatives are is that they're both anchored, in my opinion, at ensuring that white people control the wealth in this country and that white people control the politics. I think that everything else is sort of red herring issues. But even like when you look at, say, for example, the Democrats and their political chance of addressing wealth inequality through reparations legislation. We saw that Gavin Newsom, after the 2-year reparations task force, 80-31-21, they came out with the 2 bills, out of that to advance reparations in California, which basically were derailed by the California Black Caucus and Gavin Newsom himself. And then even when we look at Westmore in Maryland, he had an opportunity to create a reparations task force similar to California. So white liberals, I think. Listen. I think that white liberals and white conservatives are just different wings of the same bird. And entrusting our politics to white liberals is crazy. That's just
okay. We have a conversation. So, Westmore just said no to a study because he already had 3 studies, right? He said, come back with an action plan and then I'll do something on it. So what was Yossi Berman. Second, can you not save a whole thing about white liberals are committing ethnic genocide? Because I asked you for an example of
I said the white liberal establishment. The white liberal establishment.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't.
Margaret Sanger did that.
I didn't hear an example of the ethnic
Margaret
genocide.
Sanger.
No, not Margaret Sanger, stupid.
Planned Parenthood and
Margaret Sanger
Abortion
control
$20
stupid.
million.
Abortion control
Imagine if you had
Margaret Sanger advocated for birth control, not abortion, you assholes. Read a book. Margaret Sanger advocated for birth control. Stupid ass.
White liberals have been genociding like black people for days.
So y'all against birth control? Is that what y'all are coming right now? Yeah, because black people are the only one that use birth
20
control.
million black people have
And
died.
you don't give a fuck.
Abortion.
How do your black neighbors feel about it? Or do you live in a segregated community? Do you have any black
Imagine
friends?
having more
Get
families.
the fuck out.
Yeah, abortion, in my opinion, is essentially ethnic cleansing that's been sold as a woman's right to choose. Just my opinion.
Living in a police state is not a liberal issue.
But
Okay?
the Democrats,
And you know what
Democrats,
I think a generation from now, you niggas, kids probably.
Oh wow, we're niggas now. That's
Yes,
offensive.
absolutely.
Yeah, can we play a comment without me talking niggas? Yeah, don't call me a nigga.
Democrats push
Stop with that nonsense.
You
I think we can have a civil discourse without you calling
But
people
the
niggas like that.
Democrats push separation of fathers from family.
Yeah, can we like moderate this space? I don't know if you've been calling me a nigga.
Flames go. I'm sorry. Let me say your name. How do I say your name? I'm sorry. How do I say your name?
Family.
Kings. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. You.
A generation from now, a generation of now are gonna be talking about the Democrats when all of them
You keep saying you.
when all of them y'all rooting for the fucking military, the police.
I'm doing it. Y'all talking over each other. Can you stop, please?
Nobody's
Okay.
talking.
No, you were, ma'am. I wouldn't have did that.
Nobody. Yeah, I was talking. Nobody was talking over me.
Okay, so I'm crazy now. I'm a crazy nigga. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, remember how we wanted to talk about the crime bill, but we didn't want to talk about all the black people that was behind the scenes rooting for the shit. Now y'all are the ones rooting for the shit. A police state. Y'all are gonna be satisfied till stop and frisk is back. But a generation from now, y'all will be blaming it on the Democrats. And we see you, and we're going to put that in the record.
1984 was the Democrats. 1994 was the Democrats. Joe
That
Biden.
was not my point. My point is that there was a whole cadre of Negroes, like Hood, behind the scenes advocating for that, for them to do that. Black people supported the crime bill in '94. People like him, because they didn't quote unquote feel safe, regardless to what the statistics may have shown or whatever.
Well, you know, there are also...
Can other people talk? Thanks.
There are also ministers and business people and a lot of people in the community that supported the crime bill, though, Queen.
That's my
And
point.
not just what you consider just them niggas. It was a lot. My mother's pastor supported it. John L. Branham, and he had one of the biggest churches. I think it was on Main and I don't know, over there in that area. So he supported it because every day they would come in when they go to worship, there was a lot of shit going on. So I'm not.
Absolutely. No,
You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to push against you. I'm just adding.
saying.
All right, love you.
That is my point, Lisa. That's my point.
Okay, I got you, sis.
Yeah, but and you understand that a generation later, where were those people speaking up and explaining why they did that and during election times when we had an opportunity to vote for the status quo versus a fascist? Where were they reminding people that no, we asked for that? We wanted that.
Yes,
we were down with the stop and frisk. We were down with the mass incarceration.
So,
because basically,
you're right. No reason to foul.
Real quick, I just want to tell Lisa. So, interesting enough to your point, 58% of African Americans supported the crime bill compared to 49% of white people. So, black community supported it more.
And this is nothing but a
Gallon.
We have learned nothing. That is my point. We have learned nothing.
Listen, let me just say this one real quick. Literally, I think that just because you're black doesn't mean that your politics is anchored in like how politics can benefit the black community. If that's not you, that's fine. But I think that for those black people that want to weaponize and leverage politics to improve the black community, I guess sort of the message that I'm saying is that I think that we need, as black people, that group of black people, I think we really need to start envisioning a different way of doing politics. Because if we continue to sort of fight and banter, between supporting and advocating for Republicans or Democrats, I just think that we're always going to be in this perpetual cycle of like status quo, because neither of these parties are anchored in weaponizing politics to improve the black community outside of just using us for our vote. And I think that as long as like black people just see ourselves, fighting to defend being on plantation A or plantation B, I just think we'll never get anywhere. I think that we need to envision a bigger politics.
Why anything that have to do with us is plantation? I don't know why you keep using that terminology. Plantation mindset. There's nothing about black people that are
Well, I think that you're trying to read.
No, I'm not trying to do shit. I just asked for a minute so I can finish my.
That's what it is.
This plantation bullshit that you make. Okay, I'm gonna mute you or even throw you down. Plantation that. You don't use that type of terminology when you talk about white folks. There's nothing about me being on a fucking plantation in 2025, sir. Not one fucking thing. Not my kids, not me, not my family, not my fucking community. So you need to find another fucking talking point when you start talking about, my community. Seriously, I'm getting sick and tired of that. And these white folks come and take this shit that you're saying, and they take it and they go back. And I said, how do you find you have the authority to call me out of my name? He goes, because you guys use it as a term of endearment. So I'm calling you a nigga. And this is the shit that you guys started. So don't come in here and start talking about a motherfucking plantation, and then all the people sitting in the audience who don't look like me, who don't give a fuck about me, who don't give a fuck about my community, all of a sudden they hollering, they're echoing your fucking talking points. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Because you don't recognize that you're being, like, our community is being used as a pawn right now in this situation.
Our community is being used as a pawn by both parties.
I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about child pedophiles.
Our history as black people in this country politically didn't start on August 25th, 2025 at 2:52 p.m.
Yuri, you can speak to me directly. Yuri, you can speak to me directly. Okay, I said it. So what is the problem with what I said, Yuri? You're on stage. You get a mic. Yuri, are you on mic, Yuri? Go ahead. I'm not trying to attack you, sis. I'm just asking for clarification. Promise, it's no attack. You went back and had something to say about what I said. So
I can't hear her. Can anyone else?
is there something wrong with your mic, Yuri? Are you trying to speak? You might have to come back.
I don't see anything wrong with plantation. I think you're
Hey, I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't what I think. I don't really give a fuck, Al. If you want to be on a fucking plantation because you think that shit is cute, go right ahead. Nobody's stopping you. I said, me, my family, and my community. Where you live, plantation might be a thing, babe. You black people are fucking confused.
It's not even wrong of your microphone.
You don't know where the fuck I'm from.
You're an immigrant.
I'm not a fucking
You don't
immigrant.
have relatives that live on plantations, so you're not efficient to speak with, two descendants of American slaves that have family that live on plantation.
Fuck me.
I know you're an immigrant.
You don't know where the fuck I'm from. You're just talking about.
So you're an immigrant. You're an immigrant, Lisa. You're an immigrant.
Go ahead, Yuri, it's on you.
It's kind of interesting that just being used as an insult.
Look, Al, let me just make something perfectly clear right now. I don't tell you how to feel. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you how to take care of your family. I don't tell you shit. I said to me. So don't get on here telling me how to feel about somebody saying that I'm on a fucking plantation. The nerve of you. Who the fuck are you? Are you the black king now? That we gotta, whatever you say, we have to take it and we have to eat it? Who the fuck are you, Al?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're offended because it's reference on slavery, but I'm not offended on slavery. I'm not offended. You're an immigrant. That's probably why you're upset
I'm not a fucking immigrant. Would you like me to call you out your name in a minute? My people's blood is in this soil. I am not a fucking immigrant. And what difference does it make if I the fuck was? I am not an immigrant. Did I ever tell you that? Did I ever tell you that? Did I send you a copy of my fucking birth certificate and my passport? Did I send you my people's history? Did I do any of that for you, Al? For you to come out of your fucking ass and call me an immigrant? Did I do any of that? Are you listening to the hood rat because you both men? And you gonna suck his dick? I'm telling you, I am not a fucking immigrant.
So you were 0.5% of the slavery?
I bet 50%.
She's A-Hose. What's going on here?
I'm trying to respect your stance with these motherfucking prudence. I'm trying to be nice. They don't know me well enough to be in here trying to tell me I'm a motherfucking immigrant. They don't know me. Them niggas ain't even seen me, never met me, probably never heard me come off mic. Now all of a sudden I'm a fucking immigrant to them two Kunites. Stop it. I'm not asking you your heritage, not one fucking time did I come off a mic and question where you from and who you are. Not one fucking time, Al. So what's your problem with me today? What is it? You want me to be an immigrant? You're attracted to spicy, indigenous people? Are you? What is going on today?
I think you only got a little bit of a lighter color because your family mixed with white person.
What?
Shut the fuck up.
Light skin.
There are a lot of people in this room, sir, who are mixed. And what's your problem with it? What's your fucking problem with it? There are a lot of people on the stage who are more light of skin, like you want to say. So what's your fucking problem with it?
I don't know what's going on.
Sir,
Strong minded when you're saying you're not a legal immigrant.
Where are you from? Are you a recent immigrant? How many generations have you been here?
Well, my
get back.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
bring
go
it
back to Trump.
So yeah, who said that? Who said let's talk about Trump? All right, so let's just stick to knowing what we know. If you have to ask a question, just ask a question. I don't know Lisa's background, but I don't think that she's an immigrant. So we can move along. Next on the docket, what's going on? Nothing? Y'all done?
Can I just say really quickly, you know,
Be nice, Al. Be nice, Al.
I don't see anything else about the whole Clint Eastwood thing, because I think it's a sore spot for a lot of people.
Keep the peace. Keep the
I'm
peace.
trying to keep the peace. I'm saying for me personally, like people mention, you know, getting off the Democratic plantation.
Is that your wife in your PTR? Al.
You know it is.
So you better not say another fucking thing to me. Because I will roast and toast and chop and dice your motherfucking ass right now. I'm gonna let you know that.
May I ask
Right.
a question?
It just shows you haven't matured and grown out of your
So this is something I have found myself pondering on a lot recently. In the dawn of conservatives, Black men, and how they talk about the nuclear family. And for me, I always am stunned or lost on how to continue, because their nuclear family always is an example of the whiteout of their bloodline. The nuclear family familial unit that they speak of is never a Black man, a Black woman, and Black children. It's always
why does that matter to you?
a white woman and mixed children, and they purposely seek out the whiteout of their bloodline, and that is just amazing to me, because in a generation or two that Queen spoke of, their children won't even be Black, phenotypically, or y'all
That's not even the way it works.
your own bloodline, and it's comical to me. Like y'all are you are colonizing your own bloodline.
The same way someone like Aristotle bring a white man, a Black woman with very cool
And then has his fucking PTR and his stuff in French. Nigga, you got a nerve. You really got a fucking nerve here. And I'm gonna let you live right now, because you got a fucking nerve.
But it's called the nuclear. Hold on, Kosi. Give me a second, Kosi. Kosi, stand up. So it's called the nuclear family. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters exactly what the race of that nuclear family is. It's just being a unit. So
it does when the nuclear family is brought up as a remedy to Black community problems, and then Black men say, "Oh, black nuclear family," but now all of a sudden that concept is lost upon you. I don't understand. Y'all let Black women solutions.
but no one listens
I'm
to
talking to Black. Why is he talking to me? Y'all lay out these solutions to communal problems, and then when we go back to the table and say, "Hey, Mr. Leader of community, this resolution does not fit the community outlook." Now why does it matter?
But a
Are
Black.
you a Black man?
Kosi, I don't know why Kosi.
Hold on for a second. Kosi, are you a Black man?
But I can see it.
So do you fuck Black men? Do you fuck Black men? So why are you talking? This conversation does not pertain to you. This conversation does not pertain to you. You're not a Black man, nor do you fuck Black men, so how do you know?
But why do you think the household's separate?
This conversation is not pertaining to you, because if you want me to talk about you, we can talk about how white men have a bad day at work, go home, and commit familicide. Okay? All because you didn't get that raise, and Maria came in and made $2 more than you. Don't start with that. Because white men have a white guys.
But it's proof how you're nasty to Black men. Your attitude towards the Black man is
Ain't nobody more nasty for that family than a white man who has a bad day. Y'all have CP of your children, and then come home and commit suicide, kill everybody, and commit suicide. What are you talking about?
Your boys do it on the street because the mothers would be the only ones raising them.
Oh my God. So the Black men who do sleep with the black women get them pregnant legal. Those guys are losers. Those men don't count for the majority, the 80+%, maybe
That has nothing to do with my,
I'm saying, but
the point I made. You're
there's a lot of black men.
When I'm talking about black, because I specifically spoke about a particular type of black man.
But those are the minutiae of society. Why are you even giving them credence?
Procreate with white women, and they talk about the longevity in the
Even that's a
black community,
minute.
and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but why don't you focus on the majority versus the minority of people who do things?
Because I'm focusing on what I brought up in the conversation. That's why.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, people get.
I brought up
Why is Cool-C still
Okay,
talking?
let me help out real quick. Wait a minute. So women, Cool-C. You're in the truck. I know you think that we're supposed to just pay attention to you because you lack color, but that's not going to happen. Omari and Oasis are having a conversation, and we're going to allow them. If you continue to interrupt one more time, that's all you have. You will be placed in the goo. Okay? Thank you. Go ahead, Oasis, Omari.
No, go ahead, Alyssa. I'll let you go first.
Well, because you're talking about why am I focusing on a specific sector of people as if I did not specify in my initial offering. So I'm focusing on them because that's the group of people I want to learn more about. I'm trying to get to the psyche of it. It's not about, oh my God, throwing out one bad apple that ruins the bunch. No, I want to figure out why that apple turned bad to begin with.
Yeah, I think the men who do that, and I do see these talking points from some black men. A lot of times the men who particularly probably lean more right? But I would say I always push back and say, look, why did the black man leave? He laid down with a black woman, got her pregnant, then took off. I think what's his name, Tommy Sotomayor or whatever the hell his name is. He got like a gang. He's been divorced multiple times, but he is the worst advocate, speaker for that movement, which is what do they call themselves? Incels, whatever they call them. Yeah, whatever. So these folks they've been broken up. They can never keep a relationship, but they're able to talk, be able to communicate, and they get a big following. They just allow his voices on the internet. That's all. But most black men love black women. Like I might not be married to. I've been with my wife since I was 15 years old. Right? I'm 47. So, but before I dated nothing but black women. She's Hawaiian. So doesn't mean that I don't love black women.
Nobody cares.
That's
You know what your wife said to is 15 years old?
I mean, yeah, 92.
Have you loved any other black woman before 15?
What's going on?
But you was in love before 15?
Oh yeah. Allison.
Yeah.
Well, her name was So she was black. Her name was Allison. But anyways, that's not important.
One whole black woman in my entire life.
This is the thing that gets me though. You don't have to put a silver lining in. The silver lining when y'all give y'all responses always. Y'all had that one black woman 6 years ago when I was 6 years old. With all my the silver lining is not needed to justify your point. Just say on the fact that you're the best.
If I was divorced, I would marry someone like Lisa. I would marry another black woman like her.
I do not give a fuck, Omari. Your dick is not big enough. First of all, nigga. Fuck if you marry me or not, because I don't need you, Negro. You're not a prize. You're not a fucking prize. I'm raising like that. And let me tell you what the caveat is.
Why she don't know from me?
Like your dumb, ignorant ass. Okay? I don't know why you niggas is in my panties today. For what? I don't know. I ain't said nothing to you. Black, winding, white worshiping motherfuckers. I ain't said nothing to y'all. So get out of my lane. Shut up, trucker, and drive.
I just took a stray.
This is what I'm telling you. I don't need you, Omari, like you some fucking prize, like I gotta marry your fucking ass. You nothing. You and this other hood rat at the end are out. Like you guys are fucking prizes.
Okay, he was
Look
just
at me
saying.
and then look at you and make a decision.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, the conversation somebody asked him,
about marrying a black woman. He said if he were to get married again, he would marry a woman like Lisa. That wasn't a
He
bad.
said not like Lisa.
I said like Lisa.
Amari, I'm sorry. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Amari. You guys got me mad because this nigga hood rat and this salt and pepper Al don't come for me. You got the wrong one. Don't let the glasses fool you, okay? I'm the right one today, and I'll be the right one all day. You keep messing with me.
Lisa, that was good. That was good stuff. That was good stuff.
Yeah, she you cook. I mean, I never claimed to be a prize. Okay, but that's fine.
Sorry, Amari. Amari, I'm sorry. You had my feelings in it because I love you, and I know you're married, and I'm your side piece, and all of a sudden you gonna get up here and start disrespecting me?
Nah.
We've been through. What the hell?
Nah, never. I was like, damn. I was like, that's what I figured. I blame Al anyway. I was gonna punch Al and Kusi for that one anyway.
Hold on.
Listen, at this point, I think that Lisa and Nikki are evil fraternal twins that don't even fucking know.
You're gonna get in trouble. Hood wants me so bad.
They're literally the same person.
It's not okay, I don't have a problem with that. Me and Mickey can be the same person, but you need to stop. Stop doing what you're doing because you're making me feel like you're an enemy of my people, and I'm not an immigrant. If I was an immigrant, I'd be proud of it. I don't have to, downplay my situation, but I'm just saying for you make it seem like you're an enemy of our people, and that's what's really, I think, got me going. So let me tell you something, Hood. I apologize for saying your mother should have swallowed your dumb ass. I apologize. I apologize for every bad thing that I said about you, okay? Can we start over, me and you?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go on a date. You gotta pay them. Let's go on a date.
I always pay. Ask around.
I'm actually married, so.
Well, I can't go out with you then. We're good.
So just back to
You stealing my one-liners.
Where's my apology?
I apologize.
You remember, Lisa, you remember when I told Man Kennedy that his mama should have swallowed him and he had a fit? He had a conviction on stage. I thought he was gonna die right there.
I wasn't trying to be as mean as I sounded. Since I'm an immigrant, I'm spicy. I'm not an aggressive, angry black woman, so I could be labeled as spicy since I'm an immigrant. But I love black men. I love you guys. Just please don't marginalize me or our community, and we'll be good.
Well, can I get an apology from Oasis? Because Oasis, I don't know what her issue was when she got on stage to attack me.
That's for her. That's
If
for
we're
you.
giving out apologies, Oasis, I'll take one.
Well, I'm gonna say it
L really quick. Someone reference me.
Yes, I'm ready to my apology.
You better off having that white woman ancestors apologize to you. You can kiss my ass. Somebody gonna tell you to give him an apology. That's weird. Y'all weird in here.
Are you still there?
To Illinois Election Commission.
Oh, yeah, I'm still here, yeah.
16th voter law for door.
Oh, I didn't say Al. I said L. Hi, I'm here. Hey, sweetie, I don't know if you saw my response in the chat. Being an immigrant, there's nothing insulting about being called an immigrant. But when a Black American is called an immigrant, when somebody, if they're not an immigrant, it feels like an insult. Because see, I know my family's past all the way to slavery. I know where I come from. I know what my family sacrificed. And it's insulting because I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents were born here. And my great-great-grandparents were born here. So, and none of us asked to be here. Right. And I can't freaking leave. I wish I could. I'm not going to abandon my children, even though they're grown. I'm not going to just abandon my home and my children. But I wish I could leave because I'm scared about what's about to happen. It ain't going to happen to me. It's going to happen to Al and anybody else in here that's pretending to be white or our white adjacent.
I don't know.
Or our white adjacent. I want to hear Saunders. You continue listening. So no, it's not an insult, not at all. Because I have friends from lots of different nationalities, immigrants, everything. I mean, I grew up with a bunch of Jewish kids. I went to synagogue. I did everything because we all went to church together. I went to the Catholic churches. I
here and built what they did. I think for you guys, it's like a double thing. It's, they're saying.
So what did your grandparents build? They got America after was already built.
So I'm saying
they didn't build
not only are they saying that, they're also negating what your family and your descendants did to build this country. Both are. But I was reading it and hearing it as the word immigrant seems to be flung about right now as an insult, which is, first of all, stupid because other than the Native Americans, we are all immigrants.
No, we're not immigrants. Black Americans are not immigrants.
Yeah, we're not.
We did not voluntarily come here like
Exactly.
So that I understand, because I'm here to understand, what you're saying that when I use the word immigrant to describe my grandparents who came over out of need from Russia and to, flee from the cost, that the way that you guys use the word immigrant is different than that.
No, you made a specific point to say that the only people who are not immigrants in this country are Native Americans. And Al's point, and our point, is that the slaves that came to America, unlike your Russian ancestors who came to America voluntarily based on need, is that we were brought here, and our ancestors were brought here against their will. So we don't consider ourselves
We'll set up shop outside of my street.
Got it. That's really helpful clarity for me. Thank you.
And even worse than that, right? Your ancestors came here because America was a highly developed country based on the free labor of our ancestors, right? So your ancestors fled to America because of economic opportunity based on the exploitation of Black Americans. So for you to go on this app and say, oh, it's very disrespectful.
No, they actually came here because they weren't really that well liked in their own country.
Well, that's their own fault.
Usually they had nowhere to go, and America actually turned most Jews away. So there's a lot of history here, but I'm just trying to understand.
Though. You can look up anti-Semitism in Europe and where it originated.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that with you. It's helpful for me to understand how you're using the word immigrant. So thank you. Here to learn.
Yeah, our arrival as slaves predated the formation of this nation. So a lot of us consider ourselves Native Black Americans. There's some that argue that we're actually indigenous and native to the land. I don't support that position, but I can say that we're native to the formation of America as a union.
Yeah, can I just say for Sandra or anyone else who thinks I have something coming to me because I'm part of the white community, I'm not afraid of anything. All this fear mongering about Trump, none of that affects me. I'm not affected by that.
He's a part of the white community. He said he's a white man because he put his penis in a white vagina. So he's a white man. And every Sunday he gets to sit at the white table when he goes to visit his in-laws.
What interracial dollars are going on here?
Rachel,
He eats chicken with pepper and salt with mashed potatoes and corn.
But you know what? Let me just say,
That's what I said, salt and pepper only.
But let me just say this is, if this is in fact Al's wife or partner, a white woman, do you think that he, given his...
That is his wife. We know that's his wife. It's not the first time we meet him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that given his position on, empowering and advocating for Black people, that if he were ashamed of his wife, do you think that he would, put his photo up?
This Negro, where did he advocate for the Black family? He just said, he went over to whiteness. The white didn't come over to Blackness. This is crazy as hell. Because when my mother married my dad, there was a total separation between him and his whole fucking family. Because it's not him submerging or us submerging into whiteness. It's just wild. That was the wildest statement I've heard Black men say, I think, in the history of Black men.
Oh, stop being so dramatic.
That's not dramatic.
I say from here, come on. At the beginning, it first to Severino. So he actually doesn't know Severino. So then he goes, now at the break, and I thought, of course he knows Severino. line, and that's what disingenuousness is. They got fed up with it, and Biden was right. The reason we lose all these elections, the reason they would constantly lose things is our party, you have like $1,000 like that, something like that, like you're playing GOP, you have no money, no resources, and with the money you spend, you don't need to raise the people, so it's like, there you go, job of the day, to say we need to make a resources actually, you haven't done it for 10 years. Just increase the rate, because nobody cares. Because nobody cares. County, we're getting 23% of the vote. Is that funny? 23% of the vote. It's not an election. You really have 50 wards, and the 50 wards in Chicago, we only have 5 precinct captains. I mean, if you're abject failure, you're being abject failure for winning elections, and you're talking about winning elections. Let's hope that most people can see it. Most people know that. They're failing over and over, and we'd like to change that. So, yeah.
Shut the fuck up, nigga. I was trying to be a little fucking respectful. Now, you got me out my body. You fucking clown. Shut the fuck up. Go back to your fucking rat hole that you came out, you fucking. Now who's fucking next?
I guess I don't get this argument, though. I mean, didn't they fight for that? I don't know what year. Was it 1967 or some shit like that? What year was that? Loving v. Virginia? Didn't they fight for interracial marriage and for that equality to be able to marry and be whoever you want? Like, why?
Don't say them. You are part of them. Say us.
No, we all. I mean,
even though Martin loses, it crashes out in the debate with congressional candidate Mark Rice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What is the big deal if you find someone that you love and she doesn't have the same skin, folks, the same skin as you? Like, I don't get it. When
that's what I'm kind of confused too, because Kamala Harris has 2 immigrant parents.
I don't care about anyone's names.
I'm not saying my kids won't be black, but Kamala Harris is a black woman somehow, even though both her parents are immigrants and they're from, they're not even black themselves. So I'm confused how Kamala Harris is black. This whole thing is very, very strange. The way they try to manipulate.
Still be like an outsider to your own body and see yourself doing it, but be powerless to stop it. You know, I understand just a physical drug addiction. You know, you're sick and aching, you feel like shit if you don't take the drug. But, you know, gambling is not palpable like that in the same way. So anyway, I don't know. I've been talking.
No, that's fascinating.
And Martin loses, it crashes out in the debate with congressional candidate Mark Rice.
Listen.
And of course, you know, I think about the people who design slot machines now, and are the same people who develop video games, because they are, you know, they're not mechanical reels anymore. They're just computer software. So I think like they must have the best video game developers in the world and the best psychologists in the world, all working in tandem to make the experience as addictive as possible. So like, I couldn't imagine being on one of those teams and knowing that your life's work goes to creating a product that is most effective at destroying people's lives in such an efficient way.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, good morning, Holly.
Was that? Hey, okay. Are you already done with your shower?
I am.
Good job.
Right?
Wash your hair and everything?
Sarah is a tiny woman. She's not a big back. Like, it doesn't need to take her that long. Like, what do you mean?
I use it as therapy for myself. I'm like, I need an hour. Okay?
I need to. I do the therapy showers. This was just a get my hair washed. Yeah,
saying.
Oh, it was nice and hot. They're always nice and hot.
Then at the end, I mean, it's super freaking icy cold for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. My body temp. Oh yeah, it's good for you.
My house is cold enough that like getting out of the shower, you step into a freaking iceberg. So.
Yeah, that's the best. I live in a condo, and somebody had the brilliant idea of instead of putting the bathroom up where the windows are, they put it in the middle of the units, like in the middle of the box, basically, of several units. So it's on the inside of the building. And so and what the significance of that is that in a subtropical environment, it traps in moisture unless you have, the fan can only do so much work. And you have to have a dehumidifier. I don't know how people survive that one. Because then the other brilliant thing is they also have a closet next to the bathroom. What? Let's have everything old.
Where is it?
The closet?
Yeah, like the geographic region.
I'm sorry. In Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Is that considered tropical?
It's subtropical.
Oh.
Now I want a nap. We're gonna take a nap.
I don't know.
I don't know if they can. I don't know if it's constitutionally protected because we restrict the constitutional rights of many immigrants. For instance, like you're well aware, you can't be in certain types of protests as an immigrant to this, like on a college visa. You can't. And that can be revoked at any point in time given the Secretary of State. And all of this, like, all we hear is like they're being deported without due process. They're being deported. And there is due process. There's a process in place. You just don't agree with the way that due process is, and you should argue that point rather than say that there's no due process and they're illegally being deported. There is no evidence of them being illegally, and I'm aware that there's Abu, whatever his name was just recently picked up today, is facing deportation. We'll see how that goes. But I mean, I think that's a fair point. Like, if you have a lot of people that are born in the American flag, we just saw that with the No Kings, and then standing there and holding up another nation's flag, and you're an immigrant here illegally or on a visa, I don't know if I could give you a pass on that. I don't know if that should be there. You're not a full citizen here.
Well, there is federal law that supports that, and that's in the White House statement. But we've talked about that federal law before that gives the discretion to the Secretary of State, and it's what and to DHS, and it's what they're using now to vet people from out of the country trying to get student visas as well as permits. They're on, I think it's U.S. Code 8. I have to find this section. So it's a different discretion that they have. They have it falls under a different section of the law. So I think you can argue that they can.
Brad, you make a great comment, and I'm just going to tell you my personal point of view, which is not a legal observation. You have somebody, let's say, coming here from Mexico, Venezuela, South America, wherever, that comes here under asylum. They come here because we protect them from whatever horrible things that they would happen to them if they come back to their country. And then what do when they're in our country? They burn our flag as a total sign of disrespect. Yet they want to stay here because of our actions. What do I say? I say, and this again, just a personal opinion, fuck you. If you want to come here to be protected from your own country, and then you decide to burn our flag, you know what? Go back to your country and suffer the consequences. But, again, if you're an American citizen, and I would never do it, Brad, I know you would never do it, but you are allowed constitutionally to burn the flag.
But don't come here from another country and expect us to protect you and then burn the symbol of our country. Again, that's my emotional opinion, not my legal opinion.
I was going to say, Steve, you're making an emotional argument against the American laws and principles and saying, because I feel that you should do X, Y, and Z because you want to be here, you have no right.
Which is exactly why I started off by saying that.
So to be a citizen from like the UK, you have to do the monarchy and all that shit. And so if you have,
well, let's put it this way. The point that Brad made earlier on about our own government demonizing the flag. Is what has made the people stand up because they believe in the flag. We don't need permission.
PJ, if you were to move to America and become a citizen, you have to verbally denounce the Queen. You have to verbally denounce the whole monarchy system of Great Britain in order to get your citizenship. So if you have to do that, of course, if you're a foreigner here, you shouldn't be burning the flag. Now, I will make it illegal for foreigners to do that shit, but not American citizens.
I just heard.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to. It would have to be really bad. I understand the whole wonderful idea of America. I mean, if anything, the one country I would go to on this planet would be the US. I can't think that maybe there's some of the Scandinavian countries, but if I was to do what you described and denounce my sovereignty, and I'm ex-military as well, I've sworn the oath of allegiance more than once. It would. I think my inclination would be to stay and fight. That would be my inclination. And even in the face of civil war, which a professor at the Imperial War College has been talking about a lot recently, I think we've all been on the brink of civil war, and I think we should all stay at home and we should band together geopolitically in the same moral values and processes to keep generations safe in the future. But we need to stay at home, or we need to protect our flag symbolically, if nothing else.
What's interesting? If we were to have a civil war here, it's like for internal beefs. Your civil war over there is about external beefs. Like, you have an invasion of Islam and things that are coming into your country from the outside. Where our internal beef is internal. Like, we just have, our civil war is about different ideologies and what should run the country.
Yeah, we're not going to have a civil war here. That's not going to happen. And for anybody that thinks it will, just tell me where the line of demarcation is. Tell me where the civil war is actually going to happen.
I don't think it's going to be a civil war, Steve, but I do think at some point the economic squeeze is going to come to a point where Americans are going to revolt.
The economic squeeze is already happening, baby.
I'm saying, right, but we're still, for the most part, credit is pacifying us, right? Credit pacifies us, right? Because you pay bills on time, you can loan yourself to the teeth, right? Borrow money to the teeth. So, but I think that...
No, actually you can't, because at some point someone's going to say, screw you, I'm not going to loan you any more money.
That's fair, but I'm saying, but my point is that I think that at some point that's when there's going to come a point in which, like, we're going to realize the culture wars aren't enough to distract us, and like a revolt is coming if major economic change doesn't happen.
Well, if you're talking about loaning money, that already happened this year, because last year 2 of the 3 credit ratings lowered us from a AAA to a AA.
I mean individual. I'm talking about individual.
Oh, individual credit. Oh, okay.
Yes. I'm not talking about the country. I'm talking about individual credit, because right now, and there's bubbles. It's like there's like a used car bubble happening right now. Credit card. There's got to be a credit card bubble at some point. There's a used car bubble happening because freaking car loans are like 84 months, and the average car loan I think in this country is like $800, which is insane. But again, Americans, the only reason that we're comfortable is because we can borrow to live, and it's gonna crash.
I don't know. The market's been too. I hear this, but like, take a look at the market. It's really been performing.
Yes, the New York Stock Exchange is higher than it's ever been.
So,
Please continue.
I'm trying to understand that. Like, take a look at your stocks, and then, explain the bubble with respect to where the market is right now and where your stocks are performing. I did want to say, I put in the chat.
When y'all say that, the average person is not concerned with the stock market.
Well,
That's how I was going to say.
hopefully they have taken their savings and invested them wisely. I hope so.
But here's the thing.
Most of the stock market is like a small majority.
But the majority of Americans live check to check. They did a study that said the average American can't even afford a $400 emergency. Like, people, so yeah, it's like, that's why you always hear about the wealth gap just widening. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Pretty soon, all of America is going to be like a third world country. You're either really rich or you're really poor. There is no middle.
I don't know, DJ. Do only rich people have stock? I mean, people have 401ks that are invested in markets. I mean, if you look at the jobs, they have a pension account. Excuse me, Rubaya, you think stupidity? I'm sorry that you don't have a 401k. Sorry for you. But wait a sec. Can I just go back to the other point for 1 sec? Because this dude, I put it in the chat. When I said U.S. Code 8 and the authority for the Secretary of State and DHS with respect to the topic and their ability to make that determination to remove someone or revoke a visa or not permit a visa based on there's either social media or a decision that they would be harmful to the country. So that hasn't been overturned, but that statute is in place. It hasn't been, to my knowledge. I don't know if it ever came in front of SCOTUS. It'd be interesting, but it hasn't been overturned.
I'm just asking what that. I was just saying, look at the average American. I was just saying, look at the average American. Remember, the average American can't afford a $400 emergency. So they're not paying attention to their 401k. They just hope that that's something that they can access when they're in their 70s. But they're not sitting there, they need their immediate needs taken care of today. They want to make sure that they're able to feed their family tonight, pay their car note, all of that type of shit. Now, I'm sitting in my car at a restaurant, and I just placed a futures trade before the market closed in 2 hours. It's already up for $400. I'm not the average American, because tomorrow, if I don't close this trade out at 5 o'clock, I could wake up tomorrow and this should be negative $6,000. And I'm okay with that. I'll just close the trade and go trade again the next day. The average American can't do that. That's all I was saying.
I hear you. I was also going to say that we had how many rooms back in early April of everyone attacking Trump because the market had been, so volatile and had gone down so much, and everyone was trashing Trump and the administration, and everyone was focused on the market. And now that the market's performing, it's just funny. The same people all of a sudden think the market's irrelevant, but they surely didn't think it was irrelevant on Clubhouse in early April.
I'll say this real quick. So the market criticism of Trump were legit because he was doing things that affected the market immediately, right? So those criticisms were legit, right? But the separate argument about most people caring about the market should not be the number one indicator of the economy, because even when thousands of jobs are lost, the market still manages to creep back up, right? That's just because rich people aren't going to let their money squander. Ultimately, they're going to pass policies so that they can be beneficial. But to his point, regular folks are using that 401ks as rainy day funds. That's not talked about. Like they don't have any savings. When times be rough, they dip into that. So when it comes time to retire, and we know this is the effect, that those 401ks, even without a rainy day fund, support themselves in retirement.
You got out or finished?
No, I'll finish.
I'd like to get back in again. Go ahead, Kathleen. Okay. I was trying to make the point about constitutionality. Go back to, and the way we we determine whether something is constitutional or not. And I'm not going to try to make a big speech on this kind of thing. But when you go back to Galileo, and he came up with a new idea that the Earth rotated around the sun rather than the sun rotating around the Earth. And nobody could defeat his argument based on the science. But the church immediately declared him a heretic because the Bible said. In other words, they relied on the Bible, not specific scientific argument against Galileo. When people do things that we don't like politically today, there is an immediate attempt to say that's unconstitutional, rather than getting into the specifics of what that person is trying to do. And if you can claim something is unconstitutional and you don't get kickback, I mean, if it's unconstitutional, then clearly you've won the argument. But if it's not, and we have a process to determine whether things are unconstitutional or not. I mean, I could make the point that for 100 years or so, separate but equal in the United States public education system, racial separate but equal was constitutional because it was a law passed by Congress, and there had been no ruling against that law by the Supreme Court. Now, you don't like the law, but at the time it was not unconstitutional. And so let's be careful when we claim people are doing things that are. There's a detailed, infuriatingly slow process to determine the constitutionality or not. Now, if you don't like what Trump has done in his executive order, fine, argue the details of it, but don't just say he's an idiot, it's unconstitutional, therefore I win the argument. That was the point that I was trying to make. And I believe, I have one other point I was trying to make too, but I'm so old I forget those things, so I'll stay on the stage and see if I can remember it. But if we can sort of figure out a way to calm down let's get into the details of a specific thing and not take this broad brush, Trump's an idiot, it's unconstitutional, I'm right, you're wrong, let's impeach his ass and get somebody else in place. That just creates more chaos. It doesn't solve any problems at all. Thank you.
And I agree with you, man. I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget that man who died gave that right to me.
Like, Jesus. You're sounding like Bro from back in the old clubhouse days. Remember that guy, Bro? I think it was Kenyan. He used to say some little goofy shit, like wrap himself in the American flag like he's a super patriot.
I am. I voted for Trump, man. Trump stands for patriotism. He's the best.
Oh, that's what, thank you. But that was the other point that I'm trying to make. What is Trump really trying to do at a fundamental level with his putting the police in D.C., his recent executive order, and underlying a lot of his ranting and raving? Trump is trying to reinstill respect for some fundamental values in the country, like respect for law and order, respect for. And he's going about it in his typical ham-handed way, and I don't agree with the way that he's going about doing it. But I'll guarantee, I referenced it earlier, when I was serving I had nothing to do with Vietnam, I was on submarines. But when I was serving during the war, the Vietnam War, the American flag was being burned all over the place, and I really hated it. And I would argue against it. and I didn't join any protests or anything, but there ought to be a law was my mantra at the time.
Well, you got a lot of these niggers running around here doing all God knows what.
Oh, wait,
Come on.
Wait a minute.
Y'all revolt. Now we gotta be niggers, bro.
All right, everybody mute up. Everybody mute up. So I'm going to give this warning, and I'm going to leave this idiot in the room, but you're going to stay down in the audience, and I'll let the others strike your words out. First and foremost, this is the political compass. I am a conservative. I am biased. I'm an Irishman. I'm an American first. I would bomb the hell out of the leprechauns over in Ireland if we went to war. But I'm going to say this. In this house, everybody from every background, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of culture, I don't care if you're Native American, to African, to Indian, to Asian, to Japanese, to Russian, I do not care. I don't care if you're Palestinian and Israelis. You can throw that bullshit out somewhere else. There's 6,412 rooms on Clubhouse and about 1 million of them on Twitter and every other freaking platform that exists out there that'll pander to your target bedsheet wanting asses to have that whole like tiki torch race war shit any day of the week. I promise you, they all exist out there. But here, we're going to talk about things that are going on, the kitchen table issues. We're going to talk about it. We're going to respect other people's opinion, even if they are on the other side of the aisle, whether they're liberal or completely batshit crazy. I have tolerated some pretty extreme opinions in this room, and I don't mean today. I have met in my course of running this and creating this space. So I can tell you, I've heard some fantastical opinions, and I have tolerated all. We're going to listen to Captain Anson. We're going to allow other people to come up on stage, even if they're on the left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle. If you're a Christian nationalist, as long as you don't take me off of that whole push, we'll allow you to have your opinion. Your opinions are not safe for critique. Your opinions are not safe for challenges. However, you will be respectful to each other, at least on my stages and in this house. Because when it comes down to it, this 6'2" Irishman can get really pissed off at times. And I have no problem unleashing. But I would like to have a civil discourse today. I mean, you can go to healthy debates. JB's got one of those trash rooms going. You've got a couple other ones that are going in the hallway that I can see right now. Go enjoy them. Here, I want to have a really nice conversation today. So let's please get back to that.
So as Bears fans, because one thing they can all burn in sports hell.
Oh, and one more thing. One more thing. With that heli or whatever, I'm removing you from my room because I wanted you to have to endure that. And so now I'm going to remove you. And for anybody else, don't come up on my stage for the N-word. I don't give a damn. I really don't care what race you are. I could care less. I don't fucking care. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Race has no construct in my room. It doesn't exist in my world. I have daughters that are multiracial. I was married to a multiracial woman. I don't care what race it is. And again, the same thing. Don't come up here with anti-Semitism. Don't come up here with anti-Catholicism and anti-Muslim. Most of the times. So again, we can create rooms elsewhere, but here, that's not the place. But go ahead, Abby, I'm sorry.
Abby's not responding. I'm just going to try to put a period behind the final point that I was trying to make. Trump, in his ham-handed way, is trying to demand more respect for what I would call traditional conservative American values. He's going about it in a ham-handed way. Sometimes he may be doing it illegally. But that's what he's trying to do. And there are a significant number of people, I don't include myself in it, but there are a very large number of people that believe that radical desecration of American values and symbols like the flag are being desecrated, and they want to put a stop to it. That runs counter to our ability to have free and open debate. And as PJ, the Englishman, was and rankers debate, and we have survived it. But Trump is trying to put his thumb on the scales to, through the force of law, disallow any desecration of fundamental American symbols and values. I think he's doing it in a ham-handed, wrong way and sometimes illegal way, but there are a lot of people that support what he's trying to do, and we can argue whether that's good or bad, and I will leave it at that.
Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of people that support what Trump is trying to do. Over 150 million people are supporting what Trump is trying to do. Unfortunately, there's 200 million people that are against what Trump is trying to do. Traditional American values, I'll just name one.
What do you draw that number out of curiosity?
I draw that number that there are 350 million people that are in America that are American citizens, and close to half want what Trump does, and there are close to half that what Trump doesn't want. That's where I draw that number. But anyways, yeah, my pleasure. But I'm going to go to one American value, one traditional American value, marriage. We'll talk about marriage. I mean, a lot of people would consider the nuclear family. Marriage is a traditional American value. You know how long it's been since the divorce rate was under 80%? You can argue 50%, but it's really 80%. It's been over 40 or 50 years. Do you realize? Well, that's 40 years, yeah. Do you realize that 80% of all marriages end in divorce under 25 years? Do you realize that all marriages where people get married at 25 years or under, 80% end in divorce? There's your one biggest, I think, traditional family value, marriage. And we've got an 80% divorce rate. Can't legislate that. Can't executive order that. Trump can't do anything about that.
So like clockwork, right? Guess what's the trending topic on X right now? How Kamala Harris was right. We owe her an apology. Trump is a fascist dictator. He's stripping away constitutional right. He's ushering in the police state. And all the people who voted Trump owes the country an apology.
Yeah, well, the only problem with X, and I'm sure what you're saying, sir, is true, but the problem with what's on X is that we are not a fascist state. We will never be a fascist state. And the reason is because you can go on a street corner right now, you can have a sign, and you can say whatever you want, and the government cannot arrest you and throw you in jail. You can talk about whatever you want, and the government cannot knock down your front door, tie your hands behind your back, put a hood over your head, drag you into jail, and torture you, find out who your sympathizers are, and then kill you and dismember your body, and so you'll never be seen again. That's what a fascist state is. We will never, ever be.
And look at all that.
Never say never. But I agree that we're away from never say never.
Have some of the big ticket liberals come into your room like Tara. Like they hope.
Hey, easy there, DJ.
And I like Tara, but I find it strange that she's in a conservative room right now because she just hopes we're in here finally bashing Trump. That's her hopes and wishes right now.
We all know.
Isn't that fascinating that you're speaking for me? I'm driving and I thought this looked interesting. But, thank you so much for characterizing why I came in.
You're welcome to join us anytime, Tira. Thank you.
Well, I like you, Tira. I think you're one of the reasonable leftists on that.
Can I just say one thing about the executive order about the flag burning? Nothing in that order, very little in that order is new. Basically, it is still illegal. It is still legal to burn a flag. It is currently illegal to burn a flag if you do it to foment an imminent threat or, disorderly conduct of some kind, right? That's all he basically said in most of it.
difference is twofold. A, he suggested that he wants to raise the issue again with the Supreme Court. B, he's using it as a way to get rid of visa holders if they do things like that. So those are the differences. Everything else he said, if you read the order, is basically just the law and the Constitution as it currently is interpreted. So I'm not, I think Trump does a lot of these things. Oh, we're going to do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, this one, if you read it, he's basically saying, we will do our best to, but most of it is, pursuant to the Constitution. Right? So far, the Supreme Court in Texas v. Johnson held that flag burning is legal. It's expression, right? You can't just stop it. However, he might be able to a different court, and we'll see what they say. I don't think they're going to change that one, to be honest. But if you burn a flag and you're trying to hit someone over the head with it, or you destroy a street corner, you can be arrested now.
Well, you don't need to burn a flag to hit someone over the head with it. You could do it without burning it, right?
No, correct. But all I'm saying is that if you read the order, and I did read the order, basically what it's saying is, he makes a whole big deal of it, but it's saying that if you're doing it in the commission of another crime, in effect, right, we're going to punish you. But you could always still do that right now.
Well, I didn't read the order, but, if I want to go ahead and roll up a joint and smoke some marijuana, and then I want to grab someone's hand and burn them with third-degree burns, I guess that's illegal also, even though marijuana is legal in California.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Look, when it comes to the American flag and, whether or not it's free speech or not, I've always found it quite curious. Me, on a personal level, just me personally, I do not like the notion of being able to burn the American flag. I think that should not be held up as an aspect of free speech. And in my opinion, the reason for that is that it incites a certain type of ideology. And again, most countries do not allow this. And they understand, and there's a reason why they don't allow this. Okay? And it does cause resentment of said country. And again, I'm all for free speech. Just on this particular issue, it does rub me the wrong way as an American when it comes to the aspect of setting the American flag on fire. Because you want to make a statement on how your grievances. But again, blessed living in the United States of America, because that's the only place that you're able to do that.
Exactly, Thomas. And I totally appreciate and respect what Thomas said, because he differentiated fact from opinion. He gave his opinion. He doesn't like it, and that's cool. I totally respect that. He also made another factual point. Most countries don't allow this, and that's because there's no other country that has the First Amendment like the United States. I'm just going to say, I respect what Thomas said. He's absolutely.
But that was what I was saying earlier, that the quotes from SCOTUS, both in the in the dissenting opinions and the majority opinions, and then quotes later when interviewed, were how I don't want to use that word, how distasteful it was for them to have to rule this way, but they ruled this way to stay compliant with what they felt was in line with the Constitution. But again, it's completely split. You had someone like Scalia voting, in the ruling to allow it when he is a conservative justice. You just look at the breakdown of how they ruled in those two cases. And Tara, I agree with you. He specifically says the burning when applicable with content-neutral laws, and he combines it with those acts of vandalism and harassment, what we're seeing on the campuses and at these protests, that are the combined criminal or civil penalties that would be content-neutral with respect to having the flag burned at the same time. So I don't disagree with you, but if you look, as I said before, in the rest of that statement from the White House, he again recites U.S. Code 8, which is dealing with those trying to come into the country or those in the country as visitors on permits or attempting to get visas, and the discretion the DHS and the State Department have with respect to if those are acts of flag burning, they can use that discretion. So I think he defines the two. He also talks about how the Supreme Court never said that flag burning fits in the category that's not protected speech where it would cause imminent harm, which are those cases where you are fighting words or things that you don't have First Amendment protection. He specifically says that in his statement. So he's restating the law as what you pointed out, but he's also making it very clear that there is law in place where they have discretion if someone is burning it and they're attempting to visit the country.
Yes, well, I said that. I said the new area is basically, in terms of visa, people who are in the country who are not citizens.
That's not new law, Kara. That's,
No. The new area. No. You don't have to do that. In other words, he's choosing to say, we will now say if anybody is caught doing these acts, we will take away their visas, throw them out, do things like that, right? That he is basically emphasizing that. He didn't have to do that. There's no obligation for the government to get rid of the visa if someone burns an American flag, correct?
Well, no, some of it that's a discretion, and if you look at totally. And you look at that law that Rubio was relying on when they pulled that guy out in New York and put him in Louisiana, it was specifically their ability, the Secretary of State, and I believe the words were reasonable. It's reasonable decision or reasonable. It was not a high standard that the Secretary of State has to have. I have to find the exact two words. I know reasonable was one of them.
I think.
She's in the Matrix.
She's in the Matrix. I don't think, listen, if you're an immigrant.
Right.
Tara, you were in the Matrix. You were in the Matrix. Could you repeat your statement before Thomas goes full?
I think I'm still in it. Am I still in it?
No, you're
fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that was Khalil, right? That's the kid, the guy, right? The green card holder you're talking about. But the court did not actually agree with Rubio on that, if I remember the case correctly. So
it never went all the way. That one.
Well, I know he was trying to use that section, but I don't necessarily think that was ever adjudicated the right way. But yes, I believe. Look, visa holders have no rights. Okay, if you have a visa and you're here and you do something we don't like, we can get rid of you. So Trump is prioritizing that, that is actually within his discretion.
Well, yeah. I want him. Hold on a second. I want him. Listen, not just Trump. I think any president should be able to do this. If you're here and you're burning American flags and you're on a visa, they should get you up out of here immediately. I mean, most of these people are literally fleeing countries that if they burn their own flag, they would be, punished pretty severely. Okay, and they come here. This is why I say I don't like the ideology. Because they come here and they want to sit back and push certain ideologies that they couldn't get away with in their own countries, that they're born residents, and they come here and try to infect our country with certain ideologies, and I don't like it. And I'll land here. I honestly really do want Trump to go into not California, I'm sorry, but Chicago. I want to see screaming and gnashing of teeth. It's got to go. I mean, if it was up to me, I would be dropping napalm on some of these places. So, I'll end.
Before a while, I'm curious if you want freedom or do you want this oppression, this oppressive, forced nationalism and patriotism? Because I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. And then as far as I hate when y'all bring up Chicago, bro, because if you look at crime statistics, Chicago ain't even in the top 20, bro.
That's
Why is Chicago always the topic of discussion when it comes to violent cities in this country?
Because Fox News says it every 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not even the top 20, as far as violent cities in this country. Places like Milwaukee, Detroit, Gary, Indiana, Memphis, Birmingham, Alabama, those are the places. But you know why he won't go there? Because those are Republican states.
Chicago's highlighted because out of the major cities as far as crime waves, and this would be top 2 cities, so it would be Dallas, Fort Worth, LA, Chicago, New York City, DC is actually when he's doing something about DC. But Chicago's often do have I think they have the loudest voice, at least on the south side. You have the residents screaming for the loudest voices for something to be done in their neighborhoods. They're not happy. They're not happy like having to organize safety events and get gassed. Like this is some of the extreme levels that you have to admit. Like yeah, it's highlighting Chicago, but Chicago has a long history of being not a nice. Like the Valentine's Day Massacre, El fucking Capone. Like it's not a nice city. It doesn't have a historic like evidence of like, hey, it's been a great safe city. It's always been a halfway point for moonshiners, gangsters, mafias to the west, to LA or Las Vegas. It's always had that kind of savvy, salted image of an element there. And the residents on the south side, they're kind of upset. Like I mean, have you been to a White Sox game? Have you seen the fans in the White Sox baseball games? Just click it on one day when you're scrolling through. Look at a White Sox home game. The 12 people that are there, and they have an amazing security system around the whole park. Like this is the Chicago White Sox, a historic club, old world baseball. Not that they were like great or anything in their past history. Kaminsky was a jerk, but these guys like it should be fun. It should be a family event. And yes, they suck as a team, but I mean, it's unsafe.
But Brad, you're talking about the White Sox. Chicago people, it's just like LA Clippers versus the Lakers. They're not at the Clippers games, but they're at the Lakers game. In Chicago, they're not at the White Sox games, but they're at the Cubs games.
But it's where the stadium is. It's not a safe neighborhood. That's what the businesses are saying. And it's the same. It's similar dynamic that's going on in San Francisco right now. Like I wouldn't call San Francisco as safe. We're not all like San Francisco's in the news because I mean you had a fecal matter map attributed to San Francisco. That is an image that I'm pissed that it's an American city. It's an icon. I ate at the restaurant that Humphrey Bogart used to go and get his steak and tomatoes at. I had the same exact fucking meal he did, and I was ecstatic about it. I went on up here 59. I took the tour of Alcatraz. By the way, that place is creepy. It's one of the creepiest places I've ever been to. But I did all that, and I can tell you it's beautiful. San Francisco architecturally is beautiful. It's stunning.
But you know what, Brad?
I wouldn't live there.
And here's the thing. Here's the reality, I think. At the end of the day, crime is an industry, bro. Trump is about to really fuck up a lot of people's money, bro. Like,
as he should.
Crime is an industry in a lot of these major cities, bro. Without crime, the probation officers don't get paid, the lawyers don't get paid. You would need less judges, less police officers. Like, it's all an industry, bro. And maybe it's a good thing that Trump is not a part of that industrial complex. That's not his thing. Real estate is his thing. So I can see why, he wants to clean up the cities. But to a lot of other people, that prison industrial complex, that shit is a real thing, bro. Just like how our military needs war, that prison industrial complex needs criminals.
I am completely okay with that. I'm completely okay with less judges and lawyers losing money if it means that I don't gotta sit back and watch nigga getting his brains blown out on IG Live. Okay, I'm happy for that. I'm completely fine with that. And the reason I brought up Chicago, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because allegedly it has the highest raw numbers of murder compared to other cities. But regardless, again, it's because it's the city concentration. We see some of the most heinous shit take place, especially within our community, because I'm a part of the Black community, and it disgusts me. Whether it's even I don't care where it is, Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, I don't give a fuck. Okay, but when I see that type of degeneracy, when I see the crying families, where I see our elders sitting back terrified because we got motherfuckers running shit again, I want him to go in there and clean that shit up the way he's doing in Washington, D.C. I don't want young niggas running around. I don't care if it's black or white, whoever. I don't give a fuck. Get it off the streets. People should not be fucking terrorized.
Chicago is highlighted for reasons. It may not be the worst place in the country, but it's highlighted for reasons, and the shit needs to be fixed regardless. Okay? Then move on to wherever else you gotta fucking move on to. I don't give a fuck what's a red or blue state. Get these motherfuckers out of here.
Well, that brings me to my major
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Greg.
No, you go right after me. That brings me right into the next topic I was going to change the title of the room to. Is something else occurred today, like Tara mentioned. There's a lot of different dynamics if you read the EOs and his statements. And in cash bail. That's going to be a heated topic. You're going to hear that more and more, particularly around the midterms. And I understand people's sentiment. Like, how do I put this? It was relayed to me, and Finley maybe. When we have these political debates, even from left to right, we'll hear like, oh, we should do things like Finland. We should do things like Germany. We should do it like Mars. We have all of these different, like, we'll do these comparative analysis. But I've always questioned this of myself. We are the preeminent umpire today. We sit atop. We are the ruling nation of the world. We are Rome. We are the Ottoman Empire. We are, I don't know, we were the Russian dynasty, the Tsars. We are England. Oh God, help me! I can't believe that just uttered out of my mouth. We were the British Empire. We are that right now. We are the controlling factor. Why should we have to say, well, we should do things more like England? We should do things more like Sweden, or more like Germany, or more like etc., or whoever you want to put in place. When I'm going, we're the ruling empire. Why shouldn't we expect better? Why shouldn't those nations be comparing themselves to us and saying, why can't we get this done? And I'm looking at our bail system, I'm looking at our crime waves, I'm looking at certain things that Trump has done, and I thought there was going to be a bigger push on the DC. I thought Democrats were going to go all in and go ballistic on it. But I guess maybe there was some truth to what Trump said. And there's been a large positive reaction, and the timing couldn't have been more perfect to support Trump's theory and adding officers, military, National Guard, and people to the streets because of Bowser's Send Kids to School Safe campaign. I forget the actual name of it, but there's an actual program like that. They attribute extra officers, they ask for extra volunteers to help make sure that the kids can get to school in a safe manner through DC. This is a program she implemented. I think it's going on in Philadelphia and Abby's state to enforce or reinforce that safe passage to school program that was enacted by DC. And the people we actually are having a positive experience, the outcome has been positive. So I'm confused as to why what seems to be the issue in Chicago.
Yeah, Brad. So hold on a second. I was going to say this with respect to like Chicago. Chicago's the third biggest city in the country, so of course, in terms of raw numbers, you have more murders than a lot of other places, right? Because like you can only compare them to like New York or Los Angeles, right? And so, sure, that doesn't make any sense. That's why they're the talking point of Fox News. Because even though, the 90s were like horrible, right? I think people forget that. The 90s were horrible for crime and murders specifically, and we've come way down. We have like 60% less murders in the 90s, but Americans have believed, even as crime has been dropping over the decades, Americans still believe that crime is on the rise. Why? Because you know what's big business? Reporting crime on the freaking news. Like if you talk about a crime, you're right, they're gonna watch it, right? In my neighborhood, now I live in a very posh freaking neighborhood in Central Florida, right, where the freaking average house price is freaking double the national average, right? So there was one incident, and it wasn't a crime necessarily. The guy ran over a couple signs coming into our community, and everybody freaked out and said we should hire police, we should gate the community. Like, that's how people respond to stuff, and it's not real, right? And so I hate that we have this idea that we're on a crime wave when in cities like Baltimore, the crime has dropped, like murders have dropped like 50%. There's a problem in Montgomery, Birmingham, freaking Alabama, same thing. But people that crime still happens to don't feel that way, and people watching the news, even though in their neighborhood crimes don't happen, they think that they're the crime spree. Because again, my opinion, I think we have an amazing sheriff here in Polk County, Florida. I think he's amazing. He does a great job of law enforcement.
not the reality.
I think.
It's the same with Atlanta, bro.
Let me.
It feels like you in the suburbs, but everybody act like Atlanta is just off the chain, bro.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Let me respond to Mr. Billy, and I respect this point. So I respect your points, DJ.
Thomas, who's the young lady that wanted to chime in as well? I didn't.
It was Tira.
That was Tira.
So Tira, go ahead after Thomas. That would be good.
After Thomas, okay, thanks.
I appreciate that. So here's my thing, and I hear where you guys are coming from. Now, my biggest issue with this is that it dismisses the individuals that feel like they are not safe. For example, I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida. I used to live on Bourbon Street. I saw niggas get their skulls kicked in on sidewalks, shaking and seizing and bleeding out. Not just one time. I'm talking about from elementary school to high school. And it wasn't just me. These people didn't feel safe within that community. I then moved to Duval County. I know what it's like over there, okay? All right? I've been to Miami-Dade as well multiple times. I've been partying out there. These people don't feel safe. And I understand that you people say crime has gone down, respectfully. Again, if that does not matter percentage-wise, when you're talking about people's lived experiences and what they're experiencing. You can't go up to a motherfucker that just had his brother or sister or cousin get blown the fuck away in broad daylight and nobody know what happened and then come up with crime has gone down. Why are people feeling this way? People are tired of seeing blood on the streets. It's not as if violent crime, especially within our communities. You have senior citizens or elders saying this, that crime, that even though people say crime has gone down, they don't feel it, especially in our communities. That's number two. Number three, if you're talking about other like well-to-do environments now, yes, that's true. But because of the sensationalism that is happening on the news, these people that are seeing this is not being necessarily made up. As for example, so-and-so got killed in broad daylight doing Facebook Live or whatever the fuck it was. That really happened. Whether or not it's happening as often within the quote-unquote well-to-do neighborhoods, they don't want to experience that at all. Point blank, period. I understand the 90s were rough. They had Uzis were on the streets at the time, okay? We understand that. And again, I'll land here. When we're talking about crime coming down, from what point? Okay? Was it that much of a shit show, okay, back in the 90s that it's come down, some people say 40-60%, and people still feel afraid? I don't think it has everything. I don't think it's all sensationalism, respectfully.
I'll go after Tyra.
So, the reason why Democrats have not pushed back in D.C. is because D.C. is a special entity. It is basically subject in many respects to federal control. I think it's the Home Rule Act or something like that. I can't remember. But basically, the federal government has authority to do lots of things in D.C., and the D.C. government doesn't have much authority to resist.
That's because D.C. is federal land. Thank you. I know that. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, that's why no one is pushing back, because there's very little you could do legally. Number two, however, that is not necessarily true of the states. So, for example, can Trump order active military into states? Well, that's sort of illegal under Posse Comitatus Act, but he can say there's an insurrection, but that's going to be challenged in court. Obviously, I think it was challenged in California, etc. He can't actually even federalize state National Guard without saying it's an emergency. These actions in various states will be challenged, and I think that's why, it's unclear how far he's going to go on that, because people are going to rush right into court on these things. It is true that basically in many of the states he's talking about, crime has gone down, and I don't know what he plans to do, because crime will come back if he doesn't have troops in the streets all the time. And I personally don't want to live in a country where there are troops in the streets all the time. I don't feel that that's a really good way for a democracy to work. And I suspect a lot of even conservatives feel that way. This is not really what we want to do. We cannot have this go on forever. I mean, what is the end game here? In terms of cash bail, I think it was Brad, I'm not sure who said it, but in terms of cash bail, Trump has said he wants to get rid of cash bail, but most charges, most criminal charges are state charges. Trump can't tell state courts what to do or state lawmakers exactly what to do. We have the 10th Amendment. He's not even supposed to. We do respect states' rights. What he's trying to do, I believe, in his executive order is to say that he won't give money to states unless they get rid of their cash bail system. I don't think that's going to fly either. I think that's illegal, and it's once again one of these areas that Trump is just doing things, and the courts are going to eventually make these decisions. But think about it. You can't. Why is he telling a state court or a state law what to do about cash bail, which has nothing to do with the federal government? So I think that'll actually fall apart, and I don't think he'll actually be able to do these things. But that's what's going to happen with cash bail, because yes, he can do it for federal courts, but not for state courts. Thanks.
Hold on. Steve wants to speak. Let Steve go. Ray Abba next, and then Mr. Finley, you can go after Ray.
I'll make it very quick. The difference is that Washington D.C. is federal land, as the prior speaker just said. It is not under the jurisdiction of the states or the municipalities. It's federal land. That's why it's different.
All right, Ray, let's hear from you.
All right. Can you hear me good?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure. But, so here's the problem. Mind you, we're supposed to be a peacetime, right? Like, this time is supposed to be peacetime. Why are they sitting here sending the National Guard straight down there when, they've been talking about this for like 20, 30 years about, DC being the murder capital or whatnot, right? And not only that, like, they've been talking about all these particular states, like somebody referenced Chicago, and I'm glad somebody did put out the actual statistic because, Chicago gets bad rap, not to say that there's things that don't go on as far as the crime rate and different gangs and different criminal organizations that are down there, no doubt about it. But my thing is, like, why now? Why weren't, these things done back in 2020? Because that's definitely what they're doing for the riots and for political purposes, speaking of the current president right now. Why are they doing this authoritarian type style government type takeover right now? You know what I'm saying? My thing is like, it's like, to me, it's more of, if anything, inciting a fight with the civilians. You're not supposed to have Marines or the National Guard in places where it's populated, where people are just walking around, with their children. This was going on. If anything, this is looking like a police state. Not only is it looking like a police state, it's looking like this is a fashion state that this man's trying to create, if anything. So I'm really trying to understand the logic in this saying that this is something good, because what's good for the gander. If they're willing to do this, then this dude who's acting like a goddamn child, he can do this off of anything. How the fuck is that a good fucking thing? Please answer that for me.
I'll answer it. If nobody else is, I really don't. And I say this.
So Thomas, I'll let you answer because you answered. Where were you? Is the Q longer? I don't know the mod name. Thundercat, is the Q longer than me, or am I the only one?
You're the only one. Then Thomas can go after you.
Okay. I was just gonna let him jump in front of me so I can answer the question, and then I'll go after him. You go ahead.
All right, appreciate you, brother. I was gonna say I honestly don't care, respectfully. I say this is my opinion. If it means that people are going to be safer, and to be honest with you, if I want to take a deeper look at it, if we start doing this now, and we in certain places that need it, not all over the place because everybody doesn't need it, and you start seeing that the level of safeness and people feeling safe in their own communities is on the rise, that behavior that want to go out there and be disruptive might end up deteriorating. Okay? Because again, that the culture has shifted. And because the culture has shifted, that means that they no longer have to have the National Guard or whoever out there. I'm worried about people being safe. I don't care about how it looks as long
honest, if we jailed speeders, right, just to throw them in jail, you think that would make the road safer?
Say it again. I'm sorry. Say it again. I missed it.
If we took speeders, people that were speeding on the roadways, and we threw them in jail, do you think that would make the road?
Sure, but I'm not saying that I want that, but sure, it would. Technically, it would. Right. If people that speed and throw them in jail, it would technically make the road safer. Absolutely.
It would. It absolutely would. Right? If you just started locking people for speeding, right? But that would be rather draconian, right? And it would be an overcorrection to the problem, and it really wouldn't solve the problem, because as soon as you roll that back, people will go back to speeding, which is the point that Tyra kind of made. Respect.
Disagree, but go ahead.
Well, respectfully, I study criminal justice. This is kind of my thing, right? And I think we don't understand crime, and we don't understand how crime, like how it spreads. We think more police and being more aggressive is going to solve the problem, and that doesn't work anywhere, right? Unless you're in an oppressive place like, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, where they don't have any rights, right? Or maybe the wrong country choice, but you get what I'm trying to say. The problem because literally all the crime in Chicago is literally concentrated in maybe a 4 to 5 mile square. It's just a small area on the southwest side of the city that accounts for almost 90% of the violent crime, right? If you go there, there's a few things that you'll see. There's a lot of divestment in education, extracurricular activities, and so there's many parts of this. And what the mayors, and I point out again, Baltimore's mayor, Birmingham, there's another one I can't think of that has brought crime down dramatically. They noticed something, right? They looked at it from a nerd perspective, right? And they really got to the root of the problem, and they're dealing with it. And they didn't have to double the police force. They didn't have to get more aggressive with aggressive policing, right? Because it's not as simple as people think it is. And with respect to your comment about people feeling, say, I'm not downgrading, victims, right, or victim shaming or downplaying how they feel, because certainly they have a right to feel safe and be safe. But it's you have to be pragmatic in your approach. Because again, I find planes for a living, right? People get out there all the time because they feel unsafe. But the reality is they are very, very safe. And that's what I'm saying about public perception versus reality. A lot of people that are dealing with crime, yes, they're dealing with it, but a lot of people that are responding to it don't deal with any of this stuff. And that's causing the overcorrection and overreaction.
Is anybody in the queue, or can I respond to them? I don't want to overstep. Okay. Gotcha. So my thing is, and again, I hear what you're saying, and you brought up Saudi Arabia and so forth. I mean, I think Saudi Arabia could be used because they have very harsh punishments. They will cut a nigga's head off, and most niggas don't want their heads cut off. So again, I'm not saying we should do this. I'm just saying what they do works. Okay. For example, I know some of my thoughts are extreme when it comes to things, and it may put a sour taste in some niggas' mouths. I get it. I understand. I don't have any power to implement this shit. I'm just saying that I do believe that some of this stuff will cause crime to go down, because for example, when people commit crimes, a lot of times, especially individuals that feel like they have nothing to lose, and they feel they might be better if they're in jail anyways because they get 3 hots in a cot or whatever it is. They'll commit crimes because they know that U.S. jails are not that bad. You go to a jail in another country where shit gets real, a lot of people, it deters a lot of people. We got it very comfortable here, okay? If you start really, and again, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just, responding to what you're saying based off, saying that some of these things don't work. And I'm like, well, some of these countries where they fuck people up for committing crimes, it does deter motherfuckers from wanting to commit more crimes because they don't want to get fucked up. You really don't get fucked up out here in the U.S. Not like that, by going to jail, okay? But that was just kind of my point. I was like, I do think that if people are afraid of consequences, it does deter other people from committing certain crimes.
So, again, we're comparing a monarchy where they have, very few freedoms to a country where you have freedoms. I mean, we want to be under an absolute monarchy where one person calls the shots. I mean, if that's what we're advocating for, then fine, right? But this idea of being harsh was soaring, right? Crime was like unheard of. It was unheard of, right? And crime began to rise as economic equality began to rise and poverty began to rise. America's only problem during our prosperous time breaks it. But like now, that's a problem. It's divestment. The neighborhoods and the areas that have high crime don't have investment. Simple things such as giving teenagers like activities and like clubs to do things brings down crime rates. I use an anecdotal example of myself. I grew up in a small town and I was very mischievous. Got into a lot of trouble. And I stole an ATV. I didn't go to jail. The police were called, but the cop who knew my dad, because being a small town, took me to my father and they dealt with me accordingly. Now, if I were in the city, that would have escalated into something terrible. But my parents decided to take all that free time and energy and they put it into programs. And I'm a straight A student. I was a straight A student then too, but straight A student didn't get any more trouble because, again, and this is a very oversimplified, explanation. Sure, one of the achievement crime, but that's how you deal with the problem. You don't deal with it with harsh punishments because, again, if that were the case, because speeding fines are high, especially when you have multiple speeding tickets. And if you look at the stats of people that speed over and over and over again, like tickets are not a deterrent and punishment is not a deterrent. Because the states with the death penalty don't have lower murder rates than states without it.
Okay, so here's my thing. For example, again, I appreciate what you said. I'm saying, well, the difference is, well, let me start here. And again, I don't know all the information. I'm claiming ignorance to a certain extent. But throughout the corridors of time, niggas have been broke. Niggas have been poor. And based off that, I don't think the society, degraded into a point to where niggas were just causing chaos and committing crimes because they were fucked up. There's a lot of poor people. I grew up poor. So a lot of poor people that grew up in the trenches that do not engage in criminal activity. Lots of them, millions of them. Like me. Okay? So with that being said, I'm not going to sit back and say that poverty doesn't have any role to play, but I argue what size or what percentage that role is. Also, to your point, again, you're right. Your father dealt with your courting. Mine did too. I remember when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily that bad, but I stole something. It was I stole a pack of some gum out the store when I was a lot younger, and my dad made me pay for it. Not by bringing it back, but in other ways. I've had friends that, broke into people's houses and wanted me to come along with them, but I was afraid that if I got caught, because with my luck, I would be the nigga to get caught. So I didn't want to have to deal with my father and other people within my family for getting caught. The problem is, I think a lot of times when it comes to this crime stuff, these kids don't feel accountable to nobody. They're not scared of their parents. They probably don't even have fathers, okay? And if they do, they're not afraid of them, and they're not even afraid of the state itself by executing certain punishments. With that said, Mr. Finley, I do believe if you make certain crimes harsher, and I know this is un-American, I'm just simply having a conversation with you. If you start, for example, me personally, I think some of these niggas need to be strung up by two horses and pulled apart. I think some of them need to be beheaded in broad daylight for some of the heinous things that they do. Okay? I'm not saying if you get a speeding ticket that you need to be shot out of a fucking cannon into a brick wall. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is some of these situations, if you're killing people, if you're going out here, causing bloodshed and tears in your communities and things like that, there should be harsher punishments than sitting in jail, working out, and converting to Islam. All right? So, again, other countries, they will cut your fucking head off. And most people don't want to have their heads cut off. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I have before anybody goes on, there's a gentleman that's been trying to get in. Hold on, Finley, I'll go to you in a moment. But I want to let Alex offer his 2 cents on this topic because he's been trying to get in for a hot minute now. So go ahead, Mr. Alex.
Hey, Brad. Hello, everyone. It's been a long time since I've been on Clubhouse. I don't know the etiquette. I was flashing mics, I guess, is a thing of the past.
Yeah, you can jump in this room. You kind of have to get in, especially on smaller stages. If not, you just raise it and say, hey, can I get in after this?
Yeah. I mean, people are on one. I let them go on one. This interesting topic for 4:30 on a Monday. I think a lot of people should look at history when it comes down to things that have been done within this country. When it talks about upheaval, I guess, within society, people that have the right to protest, but protest has always brought violence from the other side when people want to speak their minds about whatever they believe in, and that's kind of happened all across the country. I remember reading articles about the Bronx burning and how President Ford told New York to go to hell. So if you look at what New York looked like in the 70s, was really, really bad, and that we've had a million different types of epidemics, like the AIDS epidemic, the crack epidemic, which have destroyed neighborhoods. But obviously, if people would look to see how that ended up happening, drugs were redistributed through poorer neighborhoods, and then that created crime, which then made the police go in. And then obviously, like the gentleman was talking about crime being a business, that is absolutely a thing. But in regard to what's occurring now, with the action that's been taken by the federal government going into the cities with National Guard and whatnot, I believe it's a little troubling because the state should be held accountable to work within their own forces to handle the issues within the cities, and for the federal government to come into that is kind of an overreach of power, in my belief. I understand more equipment or anything else that they can use in order to fix these problems. They've been going on for a very long time. Maybe the federal government might be fed up and thinking this would make it better or fix it, but I don't believe that there is any right way to fix it. I believe that these things will continue to happen even if the federal government marches in these cities or not, but when they withdraw, things will just continue to go as they were before that they were there. I'm not exactly pleased with it. I feel like when they come for New York, I think New York is going to have its own answer to the federal government, because as what I know from living here for most of my life is that each borough can handle their own, and the NYPD is one of the most expensive police forces and most manned police forces in the country. It's not exactly something that I'm looking forward to, but the government's going to do what the government's going to do. The Republicans are in power, the Democrats are weak, and nothing that President Trump has put forward has been stopped. Obviously, when it comes down to the branches of government and checks and balances, it doesn't seem like there is any anymore. So what's going to happen? Well, I think we'll all just kind of have to watch. If people want to be civically active, then they can go to the streets and protest, as is their right in this country. But the repercussions of that, of what can happen from the other side, will be seem to be peaceful. If not, then you mess around, you find out. Just make sure if you do get caught up, have a good lawyer, be aware about what the ACLU can provide you, and protect yourself. And people that don't have the means to get a good lawyer and fight within the system that's already constructed, which is already corrupt, has been proven many, many times over, you're going to get some real just desserts. And that's just, white collar crime and blue collar crime. Blue collar, sometimes if they don't have the money to handle it or get good representation, they get locked up, and white collar crime gets a slap on the wrist. And that's my 2 cents, and thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, let me just say, and that was a great commentary. I think that sort of the issue with what appears to be the militarization, and I'm a DC resident. I've lived in DC for 25 years. I'm a homeowner. I certainly have opinions about that whole thing, but I think that even a broader conversation that I'm not hearing from either side, whether liberals or Democrats, is really when it comes to crime and eradicating crime, with a militarized presence, either way, how you see it, is that I think the thing that we need to have a real conversation about, and I think that it's a conversation that either side really wants to have a conversation about, is anchored in wealth distribution, particularly when it comes to sort of the racial wealth gap in this country. I don't think that, quite honestly, and I'm just being real, I don't think that white liberals are more interested in tackling that issue than white conservatives. I see them as sort of different wings of the same bird. One issue. But let me just finish. And I think that like sort of the core of like poverty, violence, crime is anchored in the fact that the reason that people do it is because they don't have the wealth. Like I think that if we as an American society were really interested in addressing like crime in this country, then I think that we'd be really open to entertaining like wealth distribution and specifically like reparations. And that's just what it is. And I just don't think that like white liberals, white conservatives are open to entertaining that conversation, because really what we're trying to do through sort of a militarized approach to addressing crime, it's like sort of like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And that's really what it is. And I think that like white people in this country, I think you guys really need to sort of like look at yourselves internally on whichever side that you're on. If we want to address crime, if we redistribute wealth in this country, we'll see a change when it comes to crime overnight. Like people just don't do crime, because they just want to do crime, but it's a function of poverty. And I think that America, given its caste system, has created a caste system where ultimately, traditionally, the white people are at the top of that caste system. And that caste system is anchored in wealth. And black people, especially those that descend from slavery in this country, are anchored and tied to the bottom. And it's been very intentional. It's been...
While you were giving your submission that you were correct, I was saying that's a fact with respect to white liberals and white conservatives. White liberals claim that they want, like, for example, in homelessness, when you propose to build like low-income properties or homeless shelters in their neighborhoods, they're NIMBY fast as hell. Just wanted to say I agree with you 1,000%.
I think I actually agree with that point as well, because a lot of white liberals, like in order to do this, you got to take food out of your family's mouth to do that, and most white liberals aren't willing to do that. They just want a virtue signal. But to the point about reparations and everything else, I am very curious. From what I've been reading, again, it's about 17. Let's talk about the black community. 17% of the black community is considered poor, right? And of that 17%, I was very curious. What is the percentage of those that do commit crime? Because we're always saying that poverty and crime go hand in hand. And everything that I'm looking at, I only see anywhere from 2 to 5%. 2 to 5% of the 17% of individuals that are considered poor. So, why is it that we're always harping on, well, we just got to cut niggas checks. And if we cut niggas checks, that the whole, it's going to completely stop crime. And again, the vast majority of the black community is not committing crime. The vast majority of the black community, or the ones that are in poverty, are not committing crime. So that's why I'm always confused on, like, why do we keep harping as if the magic? Again, we know about a lot of these entertainers that end up coming from nothing, getting a large sum of money, and continue to commit acts of degeneracy. So it's not just, getting a check cut that's supposed to be the magic, wand or bullet or whatever it is that you need to kind of fix the situations.
So, I don't think that wasn't maybe I missed, to be honest. I'm not sure what the question is, to be honest. Maybe it's...
No, I was asking, my question is why do we constantly equate, crime with the fact that people are poor?
Well, because there is a somewhat of a correlation. It's more about the income inequality per se. But I also want to point out that I don't know who made the reparations argument. Maybe Hood did. I didn't hear it. I don't know. Okay, my fault. But I'm not making it because the reparations argument is a separate argument. I'm making the argument that one of the reasons that crime is persistent in these areas is because it is a cycle of young people not having anything to do, right? Not being
I get like people often try to draw this distinction, like a correlation between poverty and crime. Yeah, more people live in depressed area where crime is more prevalent because those are economically not viable homes. It doesn't mean that the poor are overwhelmingly committing the largest section of crime. That really doesn't equate well.
Yeah, I haven't been seeing the numbers to back that up. That's what I've been looking for.
Yeah, Epstein Island should teach that stuff. I can point some other crimes too. Take stock floors, the New York Stock Exchange alone. I'm pretty sure I can point out. You guys should really watch The Wolf of Wall Street. That was pretty criminal there. But I'm going to say that just because there's a correlation does not actually mean there's a causation. For instance, I do not believe that all crime committed in America is done by black people. Now, can you find stats that say, hey, 55% or 50% more of violent crimes are committed by blah, blah, blah? Maybe. You could probably find a stat. I'm sure you can. You can find some narrative. Now, I can deep dive in and actually look at those numbers and say, all right, well, there's a big ambiguity here. 55% of all murders are not solved in the country. Also, we don't have states responding and reporting in any kind of unified framework. So these stats are already automatically off. And we have a problem correlating data and coalescing data to actually get it to a centralized source that we can actually be sure is stating that this is a direct problem or this is the direct cause. So, I mean, again, asking to redistribute people's wealth after a lifetime or even a multitude of people's wealth, you understand that taking that is not just coming from white people. That's coming from black. It's coming from Hispanic. It's coming from Muslims. It's coming from Indian. It's coming from Asians. It's coming from Native Americans. You're asking to take the wealth of America and every section and facet of society and say, here, I want to redistribute it for one political entity. And my belief is that once I redistribute this wealth, crime will immediately go down. Well, if everybody's equal, what makes you think crime would actually go down? Because that's statistically, I haven't found anything in history, and I can't recall anything in history that actually has happened. Like that doesn't go anywhere. There's always people going to commit crime, murder, rape. Like how does poverty fix rape? Like you don't have that. Like rape is rape. It is done by rich, it's done by poor. Sexual abuse to children. Rich, poor, middle income, habits. What else is there? Oh yeah, theft, rich, poor. You have rich fucking kids that are stealing. Like trust me, we know they're out there. And in significant numbers too. It's just they may have better lawyers. So, I don't think redistribution has shown it, and you should look at that because the Bolshevik revolution was supposed to be redistribution. There was a whole lot of fucking murder going on during that time period.
Well, I think sort of the core of your argument against redistribution is, whether you know it or not, is sort of anchored in the fact that you think that redistribution is a handout. And that's sort of, based on your submission, your contributions, that you think that.
I'll tell you what I actually think
I don't think that's what he's saying, Hood.
I call redistribution an actual fact. I don't call it a handout. I think it's fact.
So how do you define redistribution then?
Well, things like affirmative action, I don't think you'd call that a handout, but that was to hopefully the concept could stop them talking. The concept 25 years ago when that came into the concept 25 years ago when that came in was the idea.
Shut the fuck up and let her down.
I'm just asking, she's a mom. Hood, she's a mom. You have to agree, she's a mom. I don't care if she's a mom, but
anyway, the concept of affirmative action, if you read when that came into play through the court system and also into schools and used within our culture, was for exactly that purpose, to ultimately create a redistribution and the ability to to give opportunity. So, I mean, it's not necessary. You want to call that a handout? I wouldn't call that a handout. That's not what its intention was.
So, and Thomas, was there something wrong with what I said or anybody else on this issue?
No.
Both sides. I call redistribution based on the guise of what he said. And the framework was we take it from the wealthy and we redistribute. Am I missing something here? Is there something that I wasn't adding up?
No, not at all.
I can't read it. That's that. I'm stealing from one person, but I'm wrapping it up so my morals and I feel better. So I'm stealing, like, I'm going to pick on Abby here because I can't pick on her. She's lovely and beautiful. I'm taking Abby's shit. I'm taking her stuff, and I'm saying, you know what, Abby? I'm giving you 20%. That's what you get. You get nothing more. Like, this is what I say. I am freaking king here. Like, first off. And then I'm going to give it to, I don't know, Hood. I'll give it to this guy, Hood. And he now gets to take, I don't know, 40% of what Abby did. Redistribution is literally theft. You're just trying to give yourself a moral framework and a nice word to hide it on. You're a
let me say this. Let me say this. The issue,
bro,
relax. You don't speak to relax quickly. It's so crazy.
Crazy that you're not listening to me. I said Thomas and Finley, and then you can go after it. You advocated like whatever you think you have in this room. Thomas, Finley, then you Hood.
So, and let me just say this. It vexes me, this type of behavior, because I want to hear his argument. But this is what I started to believe, because this happens all the time. The motherfuckers crash out. And I think the reason for this is when they realize they don't have an argument. So what they'll do is they'll try to basically redirect the argument to something that's irrelevant. Okay? He understands. Most people that come on stage understands that the mods can pretty much do whatever the fuck they want to. You're not going to win the battle. You're probably going to get blown from the stage. So why engage in a back and forth like that? I want to hear your argument. Why put yourself in a situation where you're not going to be able to have the argument and your points are going to be able to be heard by crashing out that way? I don't understand this shit. It vexes me. It really does. But you know what? Go ahead, Philly. You got it.
Well, I agree with the argument. I don't agree that redistribution is theft because you can just tax us, right? Like do a better tax policy than the play for play and rig for the rich policies that we currently have that have caused this income inequality over the last 40 years. It's just trash policy. And I agree that there's no causation with poverty and crime, but there's some correlations there. But it's a lot of it is again lack of investment. And again, we see it. We see it starting very young. And I agree. There's no magic bullet to crime because even if like there were the rapes in the 50s and the 40s when when the economy was more equitable than everybody except black people. But I understand that the thought that you'll never get rid of all crime, and that's not the goal. The goal is to address some of the causes of like some of these violent crimes, and I do think that it's a lack of investment clearly in a lot of places that are crime ridden. Well, let me strike that. A lot of places that are ridden with violent crime, there's this underinvestment because white collar crime exists throughout the whole of America, and we don't spend nearly as much time trying to prosecute it publicly or legislatively like we do violent crime. And the white collar crime, in my opinion, has many more victims than violent crime does. But I'm gonna leave that there.
Yeah, let me just say real fast. And I'm gonna try to be as respectful, as I can. But it's really difficult when I hear people sort of argue about quote unquote reparations, quote unquote wealth distribution, because the way that you view it is completely ahistorical. Like you're completely erasing like 500-600 years of history that black slaves and sort of the sacrifices that their descendants made to create the greatest country in the world. Like you're literally erasing 300 years of fucking free labor in sort of your argument
why you think that, like, when it comes to wealth distribution, that somehow the descendants of the people that provided 300 fucking years of free labor, the fucking slaves of this goddamn country, that were the foundation of building this nation with fucking free labor, aren't entitled to anything. It's really, in my opinion, it's deeply anchored in white supremacy. It's deeply anchored in historical erasure, and it's deeply rooted in, for most of you white people, most all of you motherfuckers are fucking immigrants. Most all white people, unless you came on the goddamn Mayflower, you're immigrants, and it just really validates to me the egregiousness, the evil of white supremacy on the left and the fucking right. And I just think you guys are you're callous, evil people. And to sort of argue, and let me just finish, I'll land here. Let me just say, I'll land here. For you to have a position of like erasing history, that level of arrogance is completely baffling, and you really need to fucking check yourselves, because the descendants of slaves in this country are absolutely due reparations and redress, given the 300 years of free labor that we've contributed to building this nation. And I'll land there. Thank you.
Okay, so it's weird. I love these. I really do. I love these reparation sucks, because usually they're espoused by people who can't really correlate history. You went from 500, 400 to 300 years. I believe the United States is only 250 years. Maybe you should start with fucking England, France, Spain, Portugal.
Brazil, my guy. Brazil, and that's 1888. Like, this is
your fact that black people built the fucking nation. No, you did not. The primary fucking thing that you're going to categorize yourself is that you somehow had fucking Wakanda, and that the Americans came over here and fucking ripped Wakanda from you and then put you in a cotton field. That didn't fucking happen that way. Your fucking land was taken over by other black people who then deemed you or your ancestors unworthy to exist. So they either killed your asses, or they say, hey, you're going to be slaves, and we're going to sell you for fucking trinkets and fucking whatever the fuck it was. Shiny pieces of eight. I don't fucking know. And the white European nations, they didn't send an entire army to invade Africa. They tried that. They got their asses killed. They couldn't even get past certain regions because of the interior. They died from malaria, dysentery. They were eaten. The fucking terrain in Africa was horrendous for Northern Europeans. They didn't bother to approach it because they knew only water sources, and their biomes were vastly different than the biomes down there. They didn't succeed. So your historical relevance is also kind of bullshit. And if you really wanted to go for the tit for tat, I mean, you've got 300 years of actual slavery where black Africans and Muslims, which, you know, depending on the day of week, a lot of you like flip-flop and say Muslims are either black when they add to your cause, and then they're not black when they don't add to your cause. But those guys actually had a huge slave trade enslaving white people. You know, there's a song, I forget who did it. You know, there's a whole song about some of this stuff that goes on a little bit. You should look up some more history on this. And they had it, and white people were enslaved. So I guess, you know, white people should ask for their 300 years of pounds of flesh from all of the aspects of Africa doing this fuck shit. But anyway, when you come to America, the fact that you articulate and say, we built it. No, you didn't design cities. You didn't do central planning. Yes, you worked chorus. Yes, you worked alongside other impoverished white people, Irish, Gaelic, people deemed unworthy in society, not even deemed to be classified as humans, and had to go through similar oppressions, similar restrictions, and similar rejections. You don't give account for the Asians. We literally had anti-Asian policies and huge Asian discriminations going on way prior to, guess what? The expansion of black people into California, because you weren't fucking there. And for the record, the majority of the time that you quote this country, you act like we're getting California reparations. Mind you, that the United States was the
it is today in 1865 when slavery ended, or one of the 5 other civil rights bills that was passed, or one of the other fucking land grants and all of this stuff. Now, there are egregious actions that the U.S. has taken place, and there have been things that I would agree with in redressing harms. But you Wakandanites that want to come up here and go reparations and we need to redistribute wealth, you are the wrong people to talk to. You're not sitting at the table. You're not invited to the table. You're not on the legislation. You're not even on the panels with that. And you're not being accepted in the room because you don't know the actual historical facts. You don't know about the trademark.
Sorry, let me jump in real quick.
No, you don't get to jump in my fucking room. Who the fuck are you?
I'm JR, bro.
I don't care who you are.
I just want to jump in because you're saying a whole bunch, bro. I got a couple questions for you.
You can wait. So again.
So you just gonna talk wild too?
I talk any way I want to. That's the whole point of this. Like, I am tired of people coming on stage saying, until reparations, we don't have a functioning government. You had a functioning government. You had all this shit prior. I'm sorry you were deemed inferior by a continent of people who didn't look like me. I'm sorry you may have some fucking ancestor that was enslaved. Your asses weren't fighting for Irish lives when Ireland was getting starved, when children were getting raped, when they were getting boot stomped, they were getting murdered, when they were made to work the fields, when they were made to fuck each other's for fucking entertainment, when the fucking English lords were doing that. They've been doing that for 1,000 years. That's where my ancestors come from.
The Irish are enslaved too, Brad. The Irish.
Yes, I know. The Mexicans too. They went through that shit too. Like, they had their own. They had a whole point. You're not bitching about the Hulk going in and taking Mexican territory and fucking ostracizing the Mexican native or Americans or the Indians or whatever you want to give them their label in California, Oregon, and Washington, Arizona. You don't condemn President Polk for doing that with John Kennedy and all of those other fucking mutineers creating a secession and then telling the people you're now American citizens. You just have to act right. And oh, by the way, we're not helping you with anything. And Mexico cutting off their food supplies and killing them and taking their children, taking their stocks. You didn't do shit about that. Spare me your outrage, because yours is just fake. You're full of shit and you don't even know the questions, let alone the answers to it. Now, who wants next?
Well, the irony, I just always ask this people that push for reparations, who do you think's paying for these reparations? It'll be taxpayers. And I wonder if the people that are asking for it also pay taxes, because they're going to be paying for their own reparations. Like, do they understand where the money comes out of? It's going to come out of their pockets. And are they comfortable with that, or do they pay taxes?
I think my argument is always never. I don't argue the
U.S. Treasury.
Guys, civics. Let's get back to civics.
I don't argue the slavery reparations.
But who pays into it?
My argument would be for reparations from Jim Crow, because I think that's an easier argument to make. It's more traceable. You can certainly make the argument with redlining, segregated schools. Like, there's a ton of arguments to be made there. Freeways being bulldozing through black neighborhoods and destroying black wealth. You can make that argument a lot clearer. And yes, I would argue that the government that wrote these laws is responsible for paying these people back, because it comes from the government, the same government that did the harm.
Wait, I understand, but just basically, just get me there. So
I'm a taxpayer.
The government, you do, right?
We do, yes. My tax dollars will go back to pay back the people whose property and wealth was stolen from them. I'm good with that, because when police brutalize people and they get sued, guess who has to pay for that crap? I do. I gotta pay for it.
Okay, so
right? When a teacher sexually assaults a kid and gets in the school system, the school gets sued.
When I was bringing up affirmative action before, did you feel that was a form of compensation to try to create programs to overly extend opportunity?
Did I feel the affirmative action was that type of program?
When that came into law, when Justice O'Connor wrote that famous opinion, did you feel that was something also in line with what you're talking about, where the redlining caused the harm, and that was to undo that harm by giving opportunity?
Kinda. It was an attempt.
It was an
I
attempt.
don't
don't know that it was a sufficient attempt, but it was an attempt.
I always, again, I understand it, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. For example, like Brad said earlier, for whatever reason, we always hyperfixate on the U.S. as if U.S. was the only place that harbored slaves, and as if the U.S. is the only one that treated their slaves badly. First and foremost, slaves are very expensive in the United States. Even though we see a lot of movies of terrible things happen to slaves, which they did, the vast majority of slaves were very expensive. You couldn't just slaughter them, okay? They were very expensive to get and to maintain. With that being said, also, some of these places had slavery for thousands of years, that helped build their civilizations for thousands of years. Do you think in 2025 or even in the 20th century, they say, you know what? For the thousands, for 1500 years that we had you motherfuckers slaving, okay, in a hot sun, here's a check for $1 million. Nobody's doing that. Nobody. So again, even if we were to even look to try to do something like that, listen, DNA test, I think there's stuff within the DNA test that say that this is for entertainment purposes only or some shit like that. I don't know, but my point is this. How are we going to legitimize or legitimately trace back to whose parents were affected by this, to what percent, et cetera, to be able to even decide who gets what? And all of that's going to do at the end of the day, and they're going to say this is racist too. If they were to cut everybody a fucking check in my community for whatever amount of money, they're just going to raise prices of shit. That's all they're going to do. They're just going to raise fucking prices of shit. And then you're going to say, right after, well, it's racist now because the house I was looking at for buying for $700,000 is now $1.2 million. So again, I don't understand where this goes.
But let me just say, it's sort of weird. Let me just finish. Like your position that, sort of like tracing, like, I guess your ancestry back to slavery, like literally, like that shit was not that long ago. I'm a Gen Xer. My parents, thank God, are silent gens. They're still alive in their late 80s. My dad's grandfather was actually born into slavery. So, like, this sort of belief that, like, our connection as the descendants of